This is the Rolling with Tay podcast. I'm your host, Tasia, aka Tay, and this is episode 6. And I have NADHIR. NADHIR was on season 1, episode 7, The People Cyclist. So check that out when you get a chance. I want to thank NADHIR again for being a guest and sharing his knowledge on how one should train for a century bike ride. Thank you so much. Welcome back to the podcast, NADHIR.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure, Tay.
Before we get into how one should prepare for a century ride, can you tell us a little bit about the epic cycling trip that you took to DC in August?
Yes, this was an amazing trip that was coordinated by a brother named Hassan. Um, it was so epic. It's hard to describe. So I'll try and give you the brief form. The year before we did the trip and it was successful. So this was the second year. The thing about this year was that we had more people join in to complete the ride with us, as we did 5 people the first year. This year we had 12 people ride. And in addition to that, we had a host of people come out and ride the first leg with us to Philly and also cheer us on. But the biggest thing was arriving in DC the third day and meeting the students who were the recipients of the scholarships that we had, funds that we had raised for them. Each day had its own task and its own difficulty and its own reward. You know, the first day you're riding and you're thinking like, why am I doing this? What's the reason? Why do I need to be out here and I got to do this 2 more days? You know, and once you get the first day under your belt, and then the second day, for me, the second day was my best day. I was in beast mode. You know, I was like, I'm out here for a cause, and we gonna go get this done. And so,
Mm-hmm.
we rode hard, and we had I mean, from here to DC, you wouldn't know it, but there's a lot of hills. Second day was a lot of climbing, a lot of climbing. And then the third day, it was just about, okay, this is it. We're getting it done. We for a great cause. Had a good host of people. We had a good support system. You know, the people who were driving the SAG vehicles supporting us along the way. It was excellent. And like I said, when we arrived at Howard and saw the students waiting for us, it was like it made it all worth it. And I would have done it again the next day to
Mm.
get that result. So I made a commitment to do this every year for the rest of my life that I'm able to. I'm going to do this ride, and hopefully it'll get bigger and better each year. In fact, last year we raised $35,000.
Wow.
This year we're shooting for 50,000.
Nice.
We were able to give 3 students last year $10,000 apiece. So now we're shooting for 5 students, $50,000.
Wow, that's amazing. I know, and I know you will raise that much.
Yes, I have no doubt we're going to do it because, like I said, we have a lot of people supporting. We have people who are committed to this, who have extreme amount of drive and great resources. So we're looking good. We're looking good.
Nice, nice, nice.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I can join this year.
I hope I'm praying that you will. I pray. We listen. What was epic about last year? We had one female rider that rode the whole ride, and
Nice.
she did an amazing job. She called me 2 weeks, maybe a week before, almost close to 2 weeks, and she said, "Nadia, I don't know if I'm going to be in shape." I said, "No, no, no. You're going to do it." And I said, "And if I have to, you have to hold my wheel the whole way. You're going to make it through." And her first day, she was dying. She was dying. I mean, she had nothing in her tank, but she wouldn't quit.
Mm-hmm.
And she did the whole ride. She did the whole ride. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to this year coming. and I hope that you're on board with us. I believe this year we're going to do August 7th that weekend.
August 7th. Okay.
Yes, I'll double check in and I'll let you know for sure. But yeah, yeah, I'm looking forward to this year again.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. That's so amazing
Yeah.
and so dope. And how many miles was it total?
Total, I believe it was 283 miles total in the 3 day period.
Okay.
There
Whew.
was no day that we rode 100. So I think we did like 90, then 80, then 70 or something like that. So yeah, so it was, pretty much the days were equal in mileage, maybe varied in difficulty. Like I said, the first day it was mostly flat. The second 2 days was the climbing.
Mm.
Yeah,
Woo. That's dope.
yeah.
So we'll jump right into it. How many centuries have you done?
Whew, I can't count. I can't count. I can take you back to my first century. Um, I don't even remember what year it was, but I remember it was when I first started riding with Major Taylor, and they were doing the Seagull Century, and so they normally ride to the Century, which is like a 2 day ride to get to
Mm-hmm.
Maryland. And I was like, I'm not ready for that. And so, in fact, I bought my first road bike to do that Century.
Mm.
Because I used to ride a mountain bike on the street. I rode a mountain bike. I rode a mountain, but I swore I would never ride anything but a mountain bike. So I wanted to do the Century, and I'm like, okay, I got to get a road bike. So I went out and bought a road bike to do that Century, and that's what started me on riding road bikes and Centuries, riding with Major Taylor, and
Nice.
that was an excellent ride. I tell everybody, if you want to do a Century, especially your first Century, the Seagull Century is the way to break it in.
Yeah. I agree. I did it last year,
Hmm.
and I mean the headwind was crazy,
Yes.
but it was a basically a flat ride.
Yeah.
It was like, and I know some people that were going fast, fast. Like I'm like, I'm gonna just go my little 12 to 14 miles per hour.
Right. And that's the thing about doing a Century is that you have to know what your speed is. You have to know what your energy is. The mistake I made on my very first Century is that I was young and I was a young gun.
Mm-hmm.
In the first 70 miles, I want to say, I stayed with the front runners. I stayed on their wheel. I was determined that I was going to ride that ride. And so I'm quite sure you've ridden with Major Taylor, and you know that normally they break up into an A group and a B group.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be in the A group. I'm not an A rider, but I can push A. I'm a decent B rider, but I can push A, but not for 100 miles.
Yeah. Whew.
So when we got to the 75-mile mark, I was done. I was done. If there was Uber back then, I probably would have. Okay, there was no Uber back then. So it was nothing to do but keep spinning my wheels another 25 miles. And I got through it. I was banged up. But like you said, that headwind, especially once you come, along the beach area, that headwind is drastic.
Yeah.
And I got through it. But I learned something on that Century. I learned how to channel my energy at its proper time and not give too much too early.
Mm-hmm.
Because then like I said, my last 25 miles, I was dead. It was just sheer willpower
Yeah.
that got me through the last 25 miles, you know. So that's one of the tricks that I've learned over the years since that time is how to gauge your energy, know how you feel in that particular day, know what your potential is, and stay within that range. You push yourself a little bit, but you don't want to overextend yourself or you're gonna die, literally, kill yourself on the road, and then you have nothing left in the gas tank, and then it's
Yeah.
like it's a struggle. Then there's no fun after that.
Yeah, exactly. It
You know.
is
Yeah.
exactly. Okay, so how should one start preparing for a century? Say we'll just pick the Seagull century.
Mm.
How far in advance? What steps should they start to take in training for this 100-mile bike ride?
What I would suggest, and it depends on the level of rider that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
If we're talking about somebody who's a novice, a beginner, I would say that well in advance, at least 3 months in advance, you would start what I call progressive riding. And just say Saturday or Sunday is your ride day.
Mm-hmm.
You would go out and you would ride 30 miles and try and do 30 miles 2 or 3 times within that week, coming up to the next week. And then the following week, you add 10 miles. And then you do that consistently until you are up where you can comfortably do 70 miles
Mm-hmm.
in one day, right? Once you can do 70 miles, you can do a century. Because once you get past the 70, 75 mile mark, the rest is adrenaline. The rest is going to, your adrenaline is going to pull you. But if you have a chance to go further than that, I would even go further than that. But like I said, you start at 30 miles. If you're a novice, a beginner, you're going to start at 30 miles and you're going to build 10 miles each week and
Mm-hmm.
then try to ride 2 or 3 times during the week, get that 30 mile in. Or at least ride 2, 3, maybe 4 times a week where you're getting some base miles in and you're getting your sits bone used to sitting on the saddle for that amount of time. Because when you do a century, you're not going to do 100 miles at one time. Most people are going to break it up into 20-mile increments. You stop every 20 miles, take a
Mm-hmm.
bathroom break, refill your water bottles, and so on and so forth. You have people who are already used to riding that may push it past there. But
Mm-hmm.
a decent century for myself, and I've done it at various levels. I would say 20, 25 miles. You want to stop and refresh, stretch your legs, refill your water bottles, and then keep it pushing. But I think that's probably the best way to prepare for a century as far as riding.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you want to do a century and you want to be more comfortable or more inept at it, then you add your exercises. Like you should be doing you know core and strength training, sit ups, squats, leg lifts, things that's going to build your core because that's where your energy is really going to be channeled from is the core.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to do those things, building your endurance so that you're not struggling so much through the century. And the less you struggle, the more fun you're going to be able to have. The more fun that you're going to be able to have makes the ride easier.
Yeah.
But when you're struggling, especially if you're 30-mile point and you got 70 ahead of you, you got a bad day. You got a bad day, you know.
That's when you call the Uber.
Yeah, that's when you call the Uber. That's when it's like, you know what, maybe today is not my day. But I recently was on a century where a gentleman, young guy too, 30 miles out, he was dead in the water. He was struggling and he refused to quit.
Mm.
It made the ride a whole lot longer. He got through it. He did it, but it was not pretty. It was
Mm-hmm.
not pretty. You know, we were waiting for him at every time we stopped, we were waiting 10, 20 minutes before he would arrive. We would rest. We would let him go first. Then the group would pass him and still have to wait for him at the next rest stop because he didn't have it.
Yeah.
I don't know if he partied the night before or what, but he just 30 miles out, he was done. You know, so like I said, you have to know you have to know your drive, know how to channel your energy. Definitely, taking a good diet, putting the things inside of your body that's going to fortify your body, that's going to give you the strength, um, having a good mindset and desire to do 100 miles, because really it's not a lot of fun doing 100 miles. It's not a lot of fun. It's a sense of accomplishment.
Yeah.
What I find is the camaraderie
Mm-hmm.
of riding with people brings about the fun. But it's
Yeah.
not fun riding a century. I mean, I've done solo centuries. I'm not out there having fun. I'm just doing something because this is what I love to do,
Yeah.
you know.
So speaking of diet, what types of foods do you suggest people eat before, say a couple days before, and then during the ride, um, to just like what should people be eating?
Well, that is actually going to vary from person to person.
Mm-hmm.
I often advise people to, a few days before the ride, build up on your pasta intake
Mm-hmm.
because you're going to burn a lot of carbs.
Yeah.
So you want to have a high carb intake a few days prior, especially the night before. I normally have a pasta meal the night before. Um, the During the ride, I don't like to eat a lot
Mm-hmm.
because you get sluggish. So I normally take like the energy bars and the goos
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that, and maybe if I'm in an area where I can stop, I'll grab a slice of pizza or something like that. Some guys I see them, they out there eating fried chicken. They peanut butter and jelly is good enough for me.
Yeah.
Peanut butter and jelly is a great staple when riding.
Yes.
I see guys eating fried chicken, they eating burgers. I'm like, how do you eat like that when you're riding? Because that sits on your stomach.
Yeah.
But like I said, each person is different. For me, I need to have, my internal empty, just, with enough to fortify my body. But I can't be riding on a full stomach like that. So
Yeah.
oatmeal in the morning, boiled eggs, bananas, things that are light, but that's going to stay with you.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah. I usually take a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Um, During one century, I took I think it was Siegel. I took some pickles
Yes.
with me.
Yes.
And
Pickles
then
and
yeah.
pickle juices are excellent. It stops the cramping and it gives you a little bit of energy.
Yep. Yep. Definitely. Um so then okay, so now you're doing your century. Okay, you should stop. Well, I know for me, I stop at every rest stop because I have to go to the restroom
Uh-huh.
and I just want to get off the bike,
Right.
stretch my legs, and then the when I did the Seagull Century, um, my was it the Seagull or Spellbound? It was one century. Oh, Seagull. I got a flat tire at like 2 miles out from the
Wow.
2 miles out from the finish. I did not get off that bike because I'm like, if I get off this bike, I'm not I'm not gonna finish. But I pushed through. But Spellbound, I did Spellbound. Um, and that was a tough one for me because
Mhm.
I hadn't trained like I should have.
Right.
So it was hot. It's the
Mm.
end of July, so it was hot.
Yes.
My Garmin died. My phone died.
Wow.
I was just like, oh my gosh. But like you said, the camaraderie, there were people there, like, oh, you got it, we can make it. And I was following some people, and then at one point I was leading the people. So it was so dope. I was so happy to get off the bike. I was so happy to cross that finish line, get
Right.
my medal. Like, I was just like, thank you, Lord. That feeling of accomplishment was there. I was
Yeah.
like, you can't tell me nothing for the rest. Can't say nothing to me for the rest of the week.
And that's the drive. That's the drive. It's the finish, knowing that you've got an accomplishment. Even if you've done it before. For me, it's like, okay, I've done it before, but I still have the ability to do it again. Where at my age, there's so many younger guys who can't do, are not blessed to be able to do what I can do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a sense of accomplishment for me.
Yeah.
Each century that I do, I'm like, hey, listen, that's 100 miles more than a whole lot of people did today.
Yeah. Yeah. I never thought that I would do a century ride, like
Mm,
100 miles for what? But then, you know, you do one and you're like, oh, I could do another one. And you want to challenge yourself. And like you said, it's all knowing your limits and your ability. Don't push yourself over the edge where it's just like
hmm
you are no good for a week because you wanted to push yourself. But I definitely say challenge yourself. So
Yeah.
then after the ride is over, what should one do? How do they recover? We talk about this
Mm.
recovery ride. Like, what would you normally do, and then what would you normally consume as far as food um, after a century ride?
After the ride, I'm going to eat whatever I find to be delicious. I'm going to eat something very good and filling. I'm not concerned about carbs. I'm not concerned about protein. I'm concerned about taste
Mm-hmm,
and enjoyment.
mm-hmm,
That's what I need because, like I said, normally I'm not going to eat any enjoyable food. I'm going to eat peanut butter and jelly.
yeah.
I'm going to eat granola bars. I'm going to eat oatmeal bars, stuff like that, that are not necessarily um, enjoyment food.
Mm-hmm,
It's sustenance.
mm-hmm,
Something that's good for you, that's going to help you get through. But that's not my go-to for enjoyment.
yeah.
So when I finish, I'm looking for steak. I'm looking for shrimp. I'm looking for everything that's good, drippy burgers, everything that's good that's gonna fill me. Some people have a strict diet. I don't have a strict diet.
Mm-hmm,
I'm not eat what I want to eat person. That's why I exercise. That's why I ride every day,
mm-hmm,
so I can eat what I want to eat. But other people, they have a strict regimen. They don't eat this. They're vegans or so on and so forth. To each his own. And again, you're gonna have to know what your body structure is, what works for you, and each individual is going to be their own individual. You can kind of take some tips from other people, but you really have to find out what works for you.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
No.
as far as the recovery ride is basically a ride that you're going to do the day after just to open your legs back up. So just to remove some of that stiffness.
Mm-hmm,
Because when the next day, if you don't do anything, your muscles are going to start to restrict and contract and get tight. So you just want to get on the bike. Some people do maybe a 10-mile recovery. Some people do 3 mile. It all depends on, again, yourself, your body. Normally after a centuries are, I'm gonna do a century, say on a Sunday. Normally I'm going to work the next day. So
mm-hmm.
my recovery ride is 5 miles because I got to go to work. If I'm off from work, I'm gonna probably do something longer. And my recovery ride is going to be me spinning
Mm.
to get the legs working, to open the legs back up. So it's going to be a spin. It's not going to be a grind. It's not going to be mashing. It's going to be me spinning. So to get the legs active, open back up, stretch the muscles out a little bit. Just a little something to say, hey, okay, muscles, I know you worked yesterday, but we got to do something today. We're not going to do too much. We're just going to do a little something. So that reduces all of the stiffness that you may have if you just lay around and don't do anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we don't want that.
Right. Right. You want to stay moving. You want to stay moving. The more active you are, the better it's going to be.
Yeah.
You know.
One after one century, I didn't get on a bike because my behind was sore. So I was like, I'm gonna stay on the bike. But I did get on my skates and skate around and did
Okay.
a few miles, moving my legs. But
Right.
my butt was hurting. I was like, I'm not getting on this bike. I'm not
Yeah.
sitting on
And
this saddle.
and that's the thing. You have to get good equipment,
Yep.
and you have to ride enough so that you build up the tolerance in your cyst bone
Mm-hmm.
so that you don't have that saddle sore.
Yeah.
Because if you get off the bike and you have that saddle sore, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to get back on the bike for a while.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. You're absolutely right about like good kits, bibs, because I had a pair of shorts on, and I'm like, I don't think these shorts,
Mm,
these shorts didn't do it. I wore the wrong shorts for the century ride. Oh my gosh! And I just had to
yeah,
put through. And
yeah.
that was it. That was it. Like I was fine everywhere else. It was just my behind. I was like, damn.
They make kits that have the Century Gel pad.
Hmm.
So that's what is suggested when you look for your equipment. Like for me, as far as jerseys, I don't spend a lot of money on jerseys.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not one of them people who have to have the Ra Ha or the Pearl Izumi jersey, but
Yeah.
I will spend money on a good pair of padded shorts
Yeah. Yeah.
because you talking about you sitting on your butt for 100+ miles.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta protect it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
gotta have a good saddle.
You're
You know,
absolutely right. You're absolutely right. That's
gotta get fitted for your bike so that you're sitting properly.
mm-hmm.
Your seat position is proper. And again, everybody's body structure is
Mm-hmm.
different.
Yeah.
Some people might need their saddle tilted a little to the front. Some people might need it tilted a little to the back or straight. But that's something that you have to learn about yourself,
Yeah.
so that you can maximize your comfortability and be able to maximize your effort. Because if you're not comfortable, you're not going to be able to put out the type of effort that you would be when you're comfortable.
Yep. I agree. Speak from experience.
Yeah. I mean, it's a science. It's a science. Some people just jump on the bike and ride, but there's a lot more to it than that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you want to be successful and you want to advance, if you just want to be a novice rider and just ride around, then okay, that's okay. But if you want to go out and you want to do a century and you don't want to be hurting tremendously, then these are the steps that you have to take.
Yep. I agree. I agree. You especially on a century, you want to be as comfortable as possible.
Yes, yes, because like I said, it's not fun. You're not going to be out there having fun. Nobody's cheering like, yeah, 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 I'm on a century. You're out there. You have a goal to meet. You have an accomplishment to embark upon. You go. You get it done. At the end, like you say, you get the medal. That's where the joy comes in. But from 0 to 99, there's no fun.
It's fun
There's,
when it's over.
right after 99, once you hit that 100 mark, then you having fun.
Yeah, it's a major accomplishment, and hopefully I can do 5 this year. That's the
Okay.
goal. 5.
Okay. Well, you know that Bike for Life has its yearly century,
Mm-hmm.
and we pride ourselves on hosting a beginner's century,
Mm-hmm.
so that this is the century I suggest people ride with us who has never ridden the century before, because we're going to be instructing you throughout the century. We're not going out there hammering. We're going out to get it done at a very moderate pace, so that way people can kind of learn what it takes to do a century before you go out and jump in some of these big centuries where the people are not catering to you and you kind of left on your own if you're not able to keep up.
Yeah.
So if anybody who wants to get a century under their belt, but they don't want to get in the situation where they're going to be left on the road, where they don't know where they're at, don't know where the turns are, I suggest that they come with Bike for Life and do their year, because we're going to support the ride from the beginning to the end. We have SAG support. We have people who are going to instruct you throughout the whole event, so that everybody is going to make it home safe and not beat up.
That's right. I
Yeah.
did it last year. Had a great time. Everyone was so cool. Um, yeah. Now that century was fun. Well, towards the end when I had to use the bathroom, that was, it was like, are we there
Yeah.
yet?
And so, what we tried to do, we tried to maintain a route that was bathroom friendly,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that anybody needed to stop, you could stop and not have to go off the route in order to
Mm-hmm.
stop. So we're going to try and do the same thing this year and keep it the same way.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
I'm gonna try to bring some people out.
yeah.
We got to go out
Look,
there in Jersey and
look,
support.
looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. It was, like I said, that last year was our third century, but that was the first time we opened it up
Mm-hmm.
to outside people. Normally, it was just Bike for Life,
Yeah.
so it was just like 3 or 4 of us. So that was the first time we opened it up, and I think we had a pretty decent turnout.
You did.
Everybody, said they enjoyed themselves. There was one female that, uh, in my estimation, she shouldn't have been out there. She had only ridden 3 rides prior to that. She had did a 15-mile ride and a 17-mile ride,
Mm.
and she decided she wanted to do a century. I said, "You have high ambitions, so we're gonna see." And she was hurting throughout the whole entire ride. Well, she refused to give up, and she completed the ride, though.
Mm-hmm.
She completed the ride, but she was hurting. We heard from her afterwards. She thanked us and said she'd never do it again. You know, she thanked us for our support. She thanked us for the hospitality, for the patience, and in fact, she even donated $100
What? Wow.
for next year's ride. But she said that's it. She won't do it again. She realized that just wasn't her thing.
Yeah.
You know, but she was determined. Once she started, she was determined, and she wasn't going to quit.
Yep.
And so we stuck with her. We were patient with her. I tried to coach her. It was a couple of times I said, "Listen, there's no shame if you get into SAG, you know. And she's like, I don't SAG. I'm like, okay. Well, you got a long day ahead of you. You know that, right? So she's like, yeah. I said, okay, well, as long as you're willing to put forth the effort, we're gonna be with you. Nobody's gonna quit. Nobody's gonna force you into the SAG. So I suggested it a little bit later on. She said, no, I'm not getting into SAG. Okay, here we go. So she did her little 8 miles an hour and got through it.
Yeah,
You
push
know,
through.
but I give her all the credit in the world because she came out determined to do 100 miles on her third ride.
Mm.
When she told me she had did 3 rides and none of the rides was over, I think the longest ride she had did was like 27 miles, I think. And then you're gonna jump from 27 to a century? Yeah.
Whew. I mean, kudos to her.
Yeah. I don't even think that I would have done that, you know. But, everybody has different things that drive them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Are there any last words, any advice for people who are thinking about doing a century?
my advice is make up your mind and do it. It's a great accomplishment. Like I said, it might not be fun while you're doing it, but it's fun and fond memories that you're gonna have afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great accomplishment. In real talk, it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody, but if you desire to do it, put your mind to it, put the effort out, do it. Anybody who rides, you can get through it and know for sure that you just got to know your own self. You got to know your own ride. And like I tell everybody, that's your bike. Ride your ride.
Mm.
Don't worry about me. You might not be able to ride as fast as me. You might not be able to ride as long as I ride before I stop. That's okay. I've been riding for a very long time. There's people who ride better than me. There's people who ride faster than me. So it's your bike. You got to ride your own ride. And you want to use the people there to try and feed off the energy, but you don't want to push yourself to the point where you damage yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and now you're struggling way more than you have to. You have to know your energy level. If you're feeling like there's a time, say for example, we have a scheduled rest stop that's 10 miles away. But at this point, your tank just got empty. You need to stop
Mm-hmm.
and get yourself together. And you can't say, well, I can't stop because everybody else is not ready to stop. You have to know your body because if you push that 10 miles on an empty tank, 9 times out of 10, you're never going to recover.
Mm.
You're never going to recover because it's like trying to fuel a plane while it's riding, while it's flying. You can't do that.
Yeah.
You need to stop, let everything settle, get the fuel and the hydration that you need, and then push on. But if you overextend yourself and you get damaged out there, the 50-mile mark, now you got 50 more miles of struggle. It's just not worth it.
It's not. It is not. When I think it was a Seagull. Was it Seagull? Or it was one of the rides. I was good until the 80-mile mark, and I was like, I think it was Spellbound. I was like, "Ooh, okay, now these 20 miles were 20 miles to go." But up
Yeah,
until then, I was good. The last 20 miles, I was like, I'll see y'all at the finish line.
yeah,
It was people pass it. I jump in. I was like, nah, good. I'll see y'all. I'll see y'all when I cross the finish line.
Yeah, sometimes it's like that. It's like the last 10 miles, the last 20 miles will be just sheer willpower. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you have nothing left in the tank, and it's the muscle memory. The muscles remember what to do, so
Yeah.
they just doing it. But it's no umph. It's no, it's not like you could say, okay, I'm just gonna go fast through it. No, it's like I'm just gonna muddle through, and that's okay. Just get it done.
Yeah.
If that's the speed that you have to ride, that's the speed that you have to ride. Tomorrow might be a better day, or the
Yep.
next century might be a better century. So, don't get discouraged because somebody appears to be doing better than you because you don't know what their condition is. Some people may be trained better than you. Some people may have been cycling longer than you. You just have to know what's good for you and do what's good for you.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And try your best to get with good people who's going to encourage you.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, who's going to coach you when you're struggling because we all have moments of struggle. We all have moments of struggle. And you don't want to be in a group where people are going to look down on you because you're struggling because that becomes disheartening and
Mm-hmm.
get discouraged.
Right.
So you want to be with people who going to, talk to you, tell you, come on, we got this here. We got this together. Come on, let's go. Grab my wheel. They're going to pull you. They're going to push you like that. So until you get yourself together and you get a couple of centuries under your belt and you know the mechanics of it, you know what it takes, you want to be with somebody who is experienced, who can pull you along.
Mm-hmm.
Makes it that much easier.
It does. Having a good group with you.
Yes. I mean, I was blessed. Like I said, my first 2 centuries was with Major Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great group of people to ride with
Yep.
because I learned a lot of how to ride, to do's, not to do from riding with that group, you know. And one thing I'm not sure if I mentioned, and it's extremely important, is night before century preparation. I always suggest that people load up on carbs. I normally take a really good pasta meal and some high protein. The morning of the ride, in fact, the day before the ride, you should be hydrating yourself. And especially the morning before the ride, you want to make sure you hydrate before you go out so that you're not starting off with an empty tank. Make sure you take with you some money, provisions, drink. You want to take at least 2 bottles with you. That will should get you through at least the first 20, 25 miles before you'll be able to or stop and need more drink for the average person. But that's extremely important is fortifying yourself the night before, like I said, with carbs, because you're going to be burning a lot of carbs during the century. And that morning, taking a really good meal. I like to eat oatmeal, boiled eggs, um, things of that nature, bananas, but that's going to give you potassium, help you from cramping. Also, pickle juice is extremely good to help with the cramping and to help you stay hydrated. Those things are extremely important. Um, and most people like pickles. So they make these little things just like they make the goos. They make little packages of pickles, little packages of pickle juice that you can carry in your pocket. Take a shot of that. Keep yourself, lubricated, hydrated well, and you should be able to get through the day without much of a problem.
That's right. So make sure you hydrate. Eat like lots of carbs. Pickles are a great snack. Like I mentioned before, I had some pickles with me. And yeah, hydrate, hydrate, hydrate.
Extremely important.
Well, that's what's up. I really appreciate all the information that you shared. And I hope the listeners, if you haven't done the century, even if you have done the century, you were able to take something away and prepare for your next century. It's a lot. You know, once the weather gets nice,
Yes.
century after century after century.
Yes. We're gonna be out here spinning these wheels. We're gonna be calling on the people, here, there, everywhere. We out here spinning these wheels, and we just look forward to the cycling community has grown tremendously in the past 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
and it's steadily growing,
Yep.
steadily growing. So, I'm loving it. And like I said, I've had years of experience, years of people looking out for me. And so I'm just taking this opportunity to try and give back and pay it forward. So whatever information that I can impart, whatever little knowledge that I have, I'm more than willing to share, more than willing to help and assist any situation to, build and grow this community in a positive fashion.
Nice. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And thank you again for being a guest.
Definitely, definitely.
This is the Rolling with Tay podcast. I'm your host, Tasia, aka Tay, and thanks for listening. Want more Rolling with Tay podcast? Well, follow on Instagram and Twitter at Rolling with Tay. Visit the blog rollingwithtay.wordpress.com for more content, and be sure to sign up for the monthly newsletter. And lastly, subscribe to the YouTube channel Rolling with Tay.